All right. I'm sorry. Yeah, America's Got Talent's not calling me. All right, stick to my day job. All right, just waiting for Clubber and Rocky to duke it out there. Well, for Missouri fans, they thought that Drew Lock, their fine quarterback, was a lock to pass up his final year of eligibility and head to the NFL. But Lock had other ideas. Decided to come back one final season for the Tigers in an offense that's going to feature almost everybody from last year. And remember, the Tigers in 2017 was the #1 offense in the SEC, both scoring per game, 38 points per contest, and total yardage per game, just over 500. A Missouri team that went from 4-8 in Barry Odom's first year as head coach to last year 7-6 and a bowl game. And when you have Drew Lock, you've got optimism right there because you have a quarterback that most likely will be the top QB in the 2019 NFL Draft. I mean, the numbers for Drew Lock, almost 4,000 yards through the air, did have 13 interceptions, but that can be overlooked by the fact that he did throw for 44 touchdowns. And by the way, this will be a new offense for Missouri. Maybe not so much as far as what they do, but how they do it. What I mean by that, the Tigers last year were very fast-paced. They were up-tempo. That's the way Josh Heupel liked it. But Heupel just got elevated to head coach at Central Florida. So you bring in Derek Dooley, and when I first heard that name, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because if Dooley coaches this offense like he was the head coach at Tennessee and at Louisiana Tech, Missouri's going to go backwards because I thought Dooley really sucked the big one when he was a head coach there, and for the last few years had been the wide receiver coach for the Dallas Cowboys. It will be a slower tempo offense. On one hand, you're thinking, why try to fix something that doesn't need fixing? But from this perspective, maybe Dooley's on the right track. Can't believe I'm saying that. The Tigers only had the ball 25 minutes per game in 2017. You do the math, obviously, that means that the defense, which had a long year anyway, was on the field for 35 minutes per contest. That takes a toll on that defense, especially in the second half. So with an offense that's not going to be that 78 RPM type of offense, maybe slowing it down will work out well. Maybe not numbers-wise as far as the number of yards that they picked up last year. They probably won't be able to approach that, but it'll still be a very effective offense. And again, it could be beneficial for the defense as well. So Drew Lock returns, and the running game, well, not everybody is back. You do lose Ish Woodard, who was your big-time running back, but you still have experience there. You return Larry Roundtree. Roundtree, as a freshman, had over 700 yards rushing in 2017, 5.5 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. And we'll see if Demaria Crockett can contribute. Has had shoulder issues, though, in the recent past. Missouri also loses their top wideout in Jamal Moore. He was their home run threat, so we'll see if Emmanuel Hall, entering his senior year, can become Missouri's home run threat for 2018. Only 33 catches last year, but he did have over 800 yards receiving, 25 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns. So I do think he can become that new home run threat for this Tiger offense. Jonathan Johnson, he's back as well. First 2 years for the Tigers. How about this? Almost 1,200 yards receiving, including 724 yards receiving in 2017. And maybe the best tight end in the SEC in Albert Okwuegbunam. So you have lots of productivity at the receiver position, and the entire offensive line is back as well. And they provided incredible pass protection last year for Drew Lock. We'll see if that can continue in an offense that will not be as fast-paced. Paul Adams, only one of 2 seniors on that offensive line. He'll play at the right tackle position, potential all-SEC player. The Tigers, offense again sizzled in 2017. They threw for over 300 yards per game. That was 14th best nationwide. Well, the Missouri defense last year was like watching a horror show. It wasn't good for the eyes at all for the most part. But one good area, at least, that they had going for them, same area that's been going well for them in recent years. You can go back to the Gary Pinkel era. As far as defensive linemen, they've had 7 from that defensive line picked in the last 6 NFL drafts, and Terry Beckner Jr. could very well be the 8th come next season. That is, if the knees hold up. He's had a couple of significant knee injuries already in his career, but when healthy, he's productive. 8.5 tackles for loss and 7 sacks from a year ago. And when you combine the other defensive tackle returning in Walter Palmer, you've got a great DT duo. And adding to the mix of the rotation, Jordan Elliott, a blue chipper, the one-time Texas Longhorn. So when the tackles are doing their part, it makes it easier for those defensive ends to do theirs as well. But not as experienced in this area, losing both Marcel Frazier and Jordan Harold. So we'll see if Trey Williams can step it up as a sophomore, but so far has been troubled with foot problems. And Chris Turner, you'll let him to the other side of that defensive line. Linebackers in that 4-2-5 alignment both come back. Terez Hall, 80 tackles a year ago, and you return Cale Garrett, who had just over 100 stops, including 10 tackles for loss. But the secondary gave up way too many big plays last season. The corners got tested quite a bit. This was a defense that was dead last in the SEC in passing yardage allowed with 254 per game. But the corners now have the experience. Adam Sparks started as a freshman, had 2 interceptions a year ago. On the other side, entering his junior year, you have DeMarcus Acey. So the corners should be better. The safeties, I'm not so sure because you don't have Anthony Sheriffs anymore. And Caleb Pruitt, the other guy, 4th on the team in tackles last year with 60, was suspended this past January and just last month officially kicked off the team. So a major void there. But as far as breaking down the Missouri players, we're going to end this on a high note. Special teams, they should be solid. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, the punter, by the way, this is his 4th year, punting for the Tigers, and the place kicker only missed 2 field goals, and you have a very dangerous punt returner in Richard Floyd, who returned 2 kicks for touchdowns a year ago. The schedule for the Tigers, well, any kinks that they need to work out, especially defensively, they better do it in the season opener against Tennessee Martin. I say that because the 6 games after that spell anywhere from moderate to significant trouble. Wyoming will not be a walk in the park, even though you get that game at Columbia. The Cowboys last year, plus 24 in takeaway margin. That was tops in college football. Missouri was minus 8 in this category. The next game, I've already talked about Purdue on my Boilermaker report. This is an up-and-coming team in the Big Ten, and you have to play that one on the road. And then 2 of the next 3 games, guess what? You get to play the 2 teams that played in last year's national championship game, Georgia at home, and then 3 weeks later, Alabama on the road. Ouch. With a bye week and a road game against South Carolina sandwiched in between. And Memphis is one of the better teams in the AAC. You got to play them on the 20th. But at least 3 of the final 5 games are at home. And I expect that Missouri should win no less than 4 of those final 5. The Tiger offense, once again, despite the change of offensive coordinator, will still be extremely productive, especially Drew Lock. But the defense still concerns me, especially that secondary. Missouri, I've got them finishing in the middle of the pack in what I consider, not counting Georgia, a very mediocre SEC East. That's my look at the Tigers. We'll see you next time.